especially with the elections coming up and the state of this nation as it's in right now, and the state of the world. The affairs in the world are just out of hand. Doesn't even come close to describing it. We're on the brink of war, and the only thing the president is concerned with is men using women's restrooms and declaring himself king of the nation by executive orders like this. So many executive orders on gun control, so many orders on everything. And he's attempting to control everything from what our children eat, to the medicines they take, to how they're raised, to what we do every single day, to what we own in our home, to things that we're legally entitled to. And there's no reason we shouldn't be able to own, and he's trying to take it all away. He's damaged this country enough by putting us in a bigger debt than we've been in, and by giving us no means to ever get out of this debt. I mean, we're facing a deficit forever, permanently, under the plans that he's set in motion, and some of the ones he's trying to set in motion. We're paying $150 billion to Iran, if that's what I heard correctly, and so that they won't make nukes is basically what I took out of it. We still gave them the freedom to do so. And as most of you know, SHTF is just right around the corner. I don't think we got much more time, and I wish that wasn't true, but it apparently is. Questionable tactics of our leadership, the lack thereof. We were a dominant player in the world just a few years ago, and now we're the laughing stock of the world. It's because we got people that don't want to work, that think that they should be taken care of by the ones that do want to work. I've always had a job. I mean, I've been laid off here and there. You know, call me lucky, what you will, but I've worked hard to be in the jobs I've had. I've worked hard to keep them. So it's sort of insulting to me that there are people who aren't even attempting to work that are making as good a living as I am. Free house, at least free rent, free food, free check, free medical care, free everything, free cell phone. And we're stuck holding the tab. When the reset happens after SHTF and things reboot, basically, the world's going to be a changed place. And we have to ask ourselves, are we ready for that? I don't believe that most of us will survive the initial aftermath. But to those that do, we're going to have to be strong, we're going to have to be smart, we're going to have to be decisive. The time for hesitation, indecisiveness, and fear will be past, well past. There's nothing to fear. My heart's right. If I die, I go home. If I don't, I live on. So when SHTF does happen, are you going to be ready? If it struck right now with me driving down the road, an EMP, anything that caused a loss of power, caused my device, my car to go down, well, I guess first of all, I'd stop recording. But second, I at least have a little plan. And I am armed, as I always am, and I do carry around 2 weeks supply survival kit in my trunk. It's in the form of a bug-out bag / backpack that has 2 weeks supply of food. Now I am limited to a 1 week supply of water, but I also have a lot of other devices in there that can help me purify water, that can help me start a fire, that can help me survive if it was a cold and rainy night. That kit didn't cost me much. It cost me about $90 to put together. But it's a pretty nice peace of mind knowing that if it went down right now, that I would make it home, or unless someone killed me along the way there, I certainly would not die of starvation, nor would I die of thirst, and nor would I be accosted unarmed. I am armed, and I will use it. long enough to see what the reset brings. The reset could bring great things, it could bring terrible things. We're going to have terrible things. We're going to have some great people doing great things too. A lot of it depends on who you align yourself with, because as much as we like to say it, we're not going to survive this alone. And you know, you're going to be able to survive a long time alone, but you really need somebody, just for the physical companionship, for the mental stimulation of having a human to talk to. There will be a lot of groups formed shortly after SHTF, when the reset begins. And those groups may not always be your friend. Sometimes the only way groups of people will be able to support themselves is by taking what others have. Taking what you got and then doing away with you, so they don't have to support you. And that's something that we have to be careful of. There will be two different types of people. The people that cherish, that relish a world without the rule of law. And then there will be those that try to establish the rule of law. I personally enjoy living in a rule of law society. It's where I don't have to look over my shoulder every 3 minutes. It's a completely different world. In the military, I've been to a lot of countries that there's not much rule of law, if any. And the people that live there, you know, I felt bad for them, for their situation, because there's no one there to stop anyone from doing anything in some places in this world. And right now we see that on TV every day when you turn on the news. Rule of law is important, and to reestablish it after SHTF is going to be important, but you can't do that alone. That will require a group of people, and probably a large group. And these people will have to be dedicated, because to establish the rule of law, we will have to give up some things. I don't mean a lot, but what I mean is we'll have to follow the laws we establish. There will be people who fight those laws, who buck the system, just as there are now. There will be groups that have no respect for others or even themselves. Because to intentionally go out and inflict harm on someone for no good reason other than to take their belongings, that's not exactly a desirable trait in a person, in a human being. I'm not sure if that qualifies you to be a human being. We all do what we have to do to survive. That doesn't mean we have to do the unthinkable things. What's the point in surviving if we're not going to remain human? And remaining human is the key to survival. If we as humans become animals, then we haven't survived. We haven't even evolved. We've devolved, if that's the right term. We went back. And SHTF will bring a backwards ticking of the clock, if you will. We're going to go back about 200 years immediately. No running water, no power, no vehicles. The few that do remain are going to be held by those groups we talked about. And after a while, no matter how much you've got stockpiled up, it will run out. It will. At least for the majority of us. I'm pretty set, but there will come a time with me, and I have my 4 sons with me. There will come a time when we run out of food, because the boys eat a lot. They do. something, I Google it. If I don't know how to fix something, I go on YouTube and find someone who did it already. Everything's at the touch of our fingertips. If I don't want to cook, I've got microwave food. I've got McDonald's. I mean, everything. We can literally go months of our own lives without ever cooking ourselves a meal, without ever really thinking through a problem, without ever coming up with any good ideas. It can go a very long time, and a lot of people do. We get so buried in technology, buried in the modern day, the things that we must have, these $300 and $400 devices that are live without things, can't live without. And in reality, when we have them, that's when we're really not living. I see some interesting things sometimes, taking video games away from my sons, because you come in the house and one kid on a video game, one on the phone, one on the computer, the other one on his phone. It's like total silence.